the closer the drawings get to each other, the slower the animation is. And usually with slow spacing, you have overlapping drawings. And fast spacing, over here next to the slow spacing, is when the drawings are spread out a lot. Usually not or barely overlapping, sometimes stretching. And for really like high quality animation, you don't want to have too many frames where there's big expanses, gaps in your animation. You kind of want to try ways to smear your, this is called a smear in animation, or to stretch out your frame to make them touch. You can see here I'm doing that to make these touch. Spacing just gets too huge here, so it's impossible. And if you do too many smear frames one after the other, it becomes too noticeable.
We just drop off?
People start to fixate on it when
Yes,
they're
you're
watching
back.
the animation, the illusions.
Oh, okay.
A little bit. So that's the difference between timing and spacing.
Okay.
Max asked a question, which I'm going to answer right now because Max is best. Can I ask how you chose
Just
to
telling
bend
people
the
to do
ball
the Q&A.
on the contact balance? That's a really good question, and I should get into that for the basics of animation. So you want to show the ball touching at the contact frame, and it gives more weight to change. So I'm showing more of a visual change here by showing it.
Yeah, just let me know when I
touching
should
the
start.
ground, and then showing the shape to form.
Yeah, you can start
You'll notice
whenever.
that the frame
Okay.
before it hits the ground and the frame after are different. So I'm showing more of a fast velocity out here, and I'm showing more of a change for these two frames. So once you start getting more comfortable with animation, you start making these decisions on a frame-by-frame level. And my decision here was, I want the ball to touch at this frame.
To enjoy
so
all
you can
of
see the change, and then I
Arizona,
want the ball to not touch, so you can
Portugal.
see
This
the
is
acceleration.
great. Okay.
So a lot of change here, and a lot of
the audio
change
is
here.
the
Is
panelists.
what was going through my head for the stretching animation. Max has been knighted in the chat. So we talked about spacing. What types of spacing are there? So one that is used sometimes is something called even spacing. And I think it's important to look at even spacing to understand, like, I guess the basics. So you can see that the space between each drawing is exactly the same with even spacing. And yeah, I guess that's all for even spacing. And next up, we'll get to something that I think is a little more useful, which is ease.
Is my audio going in and out?
So you can see that the spacing here.
Right now it's okay.
Is it okay? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I lost myself.
Yeah, it could be my. I have a full. Yeah,
Okay.
I get every now and then I get a message saying my.
Tighter at
okay.
the top and the bottom, and further apart.
Make sure they can.
And that basically shows that it's slower.
Okay.
From our earlier example, the spacing's.
Let me look at the Q&As. Okay, I see some questions coming in. This is great.
Longer, wider.
Yeah, I think the internet on my end
in animation
is in and out.
I hope I get this right because I don't actually come from a traditional animation background. I kind of figured this out as I went.
Okay, these are some great questions. So what I wanted to do is I'm going to share
extreme top and
my
extreme bottom are
screen, and I'm going to show you guys just a little bit of my work, just so you can see. So let me try this here. Okay, I'm going to share my screen.
Poses that are halfway or the breakdowns.
Okay, it says the host attendee has
and then
disabled
my have no extra underline.
Okay,
circle.
Here we go. All right, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you guys some sketches I did on Coco, just so you can see some rough ideas of some of the things that we might do here and there.
In more traditional animation, you would also have these symbols right here.
Let's share. Can everyone see my screen? I know
this spacing.
Okay, so when we were working on Coco, we had to come up with ideas for what one of the main characters was going to be like, and so one of the things that we would do is we would do a lot of rough drawings and show the director Leon.
If these were the same space,
so I really like. There's a character in the Grapes
indicator once again for in-betweeners and other people.
But
that's getting way into timing charts,
it's
and
a bit
that's
lost,
that's a
crazy.
whole other thing. So
character.
just take a look at this, and
I did a bunch of rough ideas, basically showing what he looked like. I'm going to show you something that's similar. He was kind of crouching and rolling around. I really like this guy. So just to show you, we do a lot of sketches like this to basically show the director what we think he could be like. And this is basically Marco's long lost uncle, right? You know, the one that wrote the song. And so we loved him being a little crazy,
that's just
little
because
out there.
Exactly what we talked about.
And this is one of him hiding behind one of the graves. I loved him being a little crazed.
So hopefully by this time.
And so again,
I've sort of
just draw this stuff up.
Yeah.
And show the director what we thought. This is another one. Yeah, just lots of sketching. This is just pen ink on paper. I scanned these in to show you guys.
This is something that
and then one of the ideas was at the end of the movie, when he was slowly dying, he was supposed to be somewhere else. So we thought the dog Dante could drag him out, basically, onto the stage. So I love this idea that he's a little falling apart, but Dante is dragging sort of like half of his body out. Or he could be grabbing his head and dragging him out onto the stage. Or we love the idea of putting his head cage like a hat, a rib cage, going out like this. So I know it's weird, but this is kind of the fun of being a story, is that you can do any kind of crazy ideas you want, and draw them up and show
valleys
them.
On very even spacing.
Okay, I'm going to show you guys a scene, a cut scene from Finding Dory.
You can see that
hopefully you guys can hear this
going across this chart here at the bottom.
So basically, in this version of the movie, we have the Tankang in it, and the father and his son find them stuck in like a water bowl inside a shipping container. So I'm just going to
same,
guys, so you can see.
Once you look at it,
you can hear it.
Without these charts on it, it looks like this could be a tail. This could be somebody's hair blowing in the wind. It could be so many different things.
You get us out of
take the
here,
same principle and you apply it to
sort
of curvy end
I've been thinking about that.
to these extremes, curving like this.
Jack, listen from here to that wall.
Plot out your spacing,
What do you mean
your
here?
peaks and your
Wait
valleys.
to the container.
Suddenly you have a really organic
24 tons.
looking
Beach
flowing
and
thing
over
that you can
container.
do.
74 degrees.
Okay.
So sine waves are another thing that are incredibly useful for
Just call me
animating, especially for animating.
security. That's the only thing stopping us from sliding out that door.
Since I'm here,
You see that
looping
box of Greek
animations
bottles? You can grab the
are
bottle,
helpful for
pop
some
the
things.
door, we'll keep you
I
right
don't
in the
think that
rabbit.
they're as helpful for films unless you're establishing a walk cycle and you're going to use that and break it up. Because usually in films you have the beginning of the shot and then you have the end of the shot. And the character changes from beginning to end.
I have several questions. Then please stop calling me.
It's not as useful for film, but where loops are useful is something like games where you have to do a bunch of cycles. You do
I think this skill is a little.
You do walk cycles, you do run cycles, you do all kinds of things that need to be looped.
I talk too much?
And then like stuff that I do, I just like making GIFs for my own enjoyment. So loops are really fun for that. And for me, at least, they've ended up being a really good marketing tool to show off the work that I do and get something that people see and are very interested in. May I see the grid again? Tell you what, after I'm done, we can go through the Q&A. You can ask that, and I'll show you everything, any of these that you want to see again. So. Something that you should keep an eye out for if you're doing looping animations is that your first frame, that you need to consider the first frame and the last frame like the same frame. So I don't actually have a frame 17 here, but my frame 17 is frame 1. Hopefully that makes sense. And if you don't get the loop point when you're looping something, it's very easy to get the penultimate or the second to last frame wrong. So you can see if I put my 16th frame here, well, suddenly the spacing's not even anymore. And you'll see a visual hitch. It'll look a little weird. I think I can do a very extreme example of that if I repaint frame 16. Hopefully this works because the spacing is pretty large. But let's say we know that frame 16 should definitely not.
I hope you guys enjoyed that. We're going to stop sharing. And hopefully my internet was okay. You saw most of that. Okay, I'm just going to go. I got a bunch of good questions here. I'm going to just sort of randomly go through them.
And that's because we obviously.
Let's see, from Adrian. What do you recommend for a newly graduated story artist who's panicking about getting a job and is already applying everywhere? Yeah, this is a really good question. Yeah, it's tricky. This particular time with the pandemic is really
to the Mage
hard.
Animation. Back to that really quick.
So I guess I would just keep applying. I know that animation in general is something that is just there's a lot of it going on. Obviously, you can't
cheated a lot of this.
But
what I did for a
I would
ton
just
of this
keep
animation
your skills going.
I made a lot
do as
of
much studying of features if you can.
And what a boiling animation is,
just do as best you can and keep applying.
Is the same. Where did I put that?
Okay.
It is the same.
Joel Zorowitz
for the same drawing.
How much time do you spend on a single panel? That's a really good question. So basically, depends on what you're doing. If you're doing thumbnails, you don't want to spend much time at all. You want to do thumbnails and get through an entire sequence and do it as quickly as you can. But sometimes when you're actually on the other side of that, when you're actually showing your thumbnails, you've gotten notes from the director, and you're just doing cleanups, I try not to spend too much time, but you have to make it read. I try to find that nice medium where you can basically keep a rough drawing, but use gray tone. I used a lot of Photoshop. But you don't want to get lost. You don't want to get too detailed because these boards are going. Remember, they're being edited very quickly, so you don't want to get lost in the weeds. You want to keep moving and obviously deliver everything you can. Okay, let's maybe.
So you can see the difference between
there is a few like live questions if you want to.
Yeah. How do we do that? How do I do that?
I can do it for you.
Okay, yeah,
okay,
go for
it. The first one we have is, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Raven. So I'm going to let you talk.
Easing in and easing out.
So whenever you're ready, Raven.
And it's also using that idea.
Yes, hello.
So
hi.
This is everything that I've shown you so far.
I was wondering, I have a couple questions, but I was wondering, like, how do you translate the same energy you would have, like, drawing on a sketchbook to your digital boards? Because I feel like I don't have that energy.
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's obviously getting used to whatever tool it is, whether it's the Wacom tablet or Procreate or an iPad Pro. You just have to practice and get used to it. I still do my first pass on paper. I often do that and then scan them in, and then I'll pitch that sometimes. It's just practice. It took me a long time to get used to drawing on the Cintiq. I don't love it. But it was all about like getting used to Photoshop, finding the right pen, finding the right brush within Photoshop that feels good to you.
So this is just
and then just practice. It just took me a while to loosen up like I did on paper. Does that answer your question?
1, 2.
Yeah. It just takes practice.
Yes.
One other small question, if possible.
Yes, you trace it. Thank you.
Are there any like tropes or gags you think that are overused?
So yeah, basically you just
boy, that's a really good question. There's a whole slew of those, right?
And then to go further into
when you're boarding, you have to make stuff really read. You have to push it sometimes, especially if it's animation. And it might be something that has been used, but if it works in that moment, then try it.
Faces.
But obviously, if you're doing a scene, there's a bunch of tropes. People are gonna watch it. They're gonna catch that. So then it's about
reposition the head,
getting together with a group of people. Obviously, that was my experience on a movie. We would gather after a screening and talk about those things and go, that scene is too similar to other scenes in movies. We have to think of soming better, right? Something more interesting to do. So you're aware of them, right? You try to stay away from them. For an example, a montage, right? We see montages.
So I'm just
tons of movies, especially animated movies. They really work. Montages are great for compressing information.
Track these different boiling shapes.
And if the story is strong, you're not going to catch it. You're going to be along with the story. I don't know if that answers your question. Hopefully it does.
Left right here.
That was great. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Any more live?
I wonder if I can hold it up.
Yes, we have a bunch more.
Okay.
So the next one is from Jamie. So Jamie, I'm going to unmute you.
Okay. So this is how you nudge.
Hello, Jamie.
Let me stand up.
Oh, hi. It's actually Jaime.
Like this.
Oh, Jaime, sorry.
No, sorry.
No, it's a J. Totally understandable. Thank you so much for this opportunity. My question is, when building a portfolio,
put that back.
so I know being able to draw gesturally and quickly and clearly is very important. So in a portfolio, I've heard mixed things like we should have very clean, polished storyboards. On the other hand, I hear that we should have,
you can see
that gestural,
left it messy on the top because
quick and loose,
sort of fade off when I tap
but quick but clear.
And you click on
here. Should we have everything or?
I would say both. You know why? Is because when you're storyboarding, especially for feature, and that's my background, We want to see a rough pass of a
sequence.
So we obviously don't.
And then if you do it right,
just creating these beautiful
it looks like I painted every frame,
sequence itself might not work.
And
so
if I go
the first pass should be rough. It should be gestural. One of the more important things is camera.
This is my list.
You know your staging, and you know your composition.
Which is sort of similar
are the cuts
to that
working?
list I showed earlier.
And that I can say those are the three things that are really important.
But basically, I figured
the
out
staging,
the
composition, and also the editing. Are the images moving along in a way that makes sense, right? Camera-wise, are the characters on the right side of the frame? Are they not jumping around? Are you not? Does that make sense? So it's just we want to see how you're thinking. So we want to see a rough pass. If it makes sense, great. Then you can tie it down later. For me, it's all about the middle ground, not too much clean post boards, but something that's in the middle ground. It can still be rough.
You would do it,
but that's the beauty of Photoshop, is with a little bit of lighting, a little bit of gray tone. You can make those images.
This is what it looks like, and you can see
I like really loose, rough stuff myself, but sometimes the director likes it a little cleaner. Sometimes you have to show it to an audience that doesn't know what storyboards are, right?
I did it first, and then I flattened it down.
That's a whole nother world where you have to really tie
it down,
account for all especially for a test audience. That's where I spent the most time getting any look cleaned up, really nice, like tied down boards, because a normal audience doesn't really watch storyboards.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
To answer your question, we want to see a little bit of everything, but the rough stuff and thumbnails tell us what you're
thinking. That's actually 9 layers that I'm just adjusting.
All right. Thank you so much.
Of course.
But if you put it all together, it can
thank you so much. So we have another one here from Ruth.
Very flowy.
Ruth, you can go ahead.
Take another
Hi.
where you just do
Hi.
work on one layer.
Hey there.
I'm sorry. I'm nervous.
Hey.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of the extent.
So I'm a sophomore in college. I don't.
As an animation tool.
And like I have two things going on. One is like I'm not sure exactly what I should be doing right now, especially
the rim light
in this pandemic,
because it's rim light.
And like
it's really easy,
and another thing is like I've been
that's using an ad layer.
What is the best thing to do? Like I know that a lot of artists they deal with hand paints,
and then the background paint behind it, and then you put that all.
And right now, I'm dealing with a bad bout of it.
Will this be recorded? Yes.
How can I continue making art through that?
That's a really good question. Cool. I can tell you, I had my own issues with RSI for many years, and it still does sort of come up.
A lot faster.
It was really hard. I had my worst bouts of it at the beginning of my time on A Bug's Life, which is when I was hired to work. And back then, we did all the boards on paper, actually colored everything with colored pencil. We actually colored all the boards, which is total madness. So I had a lot of issues. So they actually paid for some therapy that I went to, which was really nice. What I was told by the therapist was that stretching is like key to keeping it loose. Stretch every day.
I just want to give a shout out.
But I was also told just on your own, icing whatever issue you have with your hands. You got to ice them down. Then you let your hand get back to room temperature, and then get them hot. So it's the combination of doing both of those things, I can tell you, and that really did help. Like stretching, taking breaks, making sure your setup is as ergonomically nice as possible. Does that make sense? Getting up,
like ergonomically, like I work with a small desk. Would like a stand work? Like I work with like a tablet with like getting a stand and setting it up, like just like working while standing. Would that be a better?
Yeah, actually, I think mixing it up. You can sit for a little bit, stand for a little bit. A lot of it is just about taking breaks and taking walks. I did that a lot, but I feel you're
for that. Thank you, Lightbox. Yeah.
Like I've been dealing with this pain for a while, and it kind of scares me because like I see myself as an artist, like no other way. I don't see myself. I don't see myself without drawing. But then like in the morning, like right now, I feel like this whole tiredness in my arm, like aches, pains, and like it's hard for me to like even write stuff down, and I'm scared like this is what I want to be. This is what I want to do. What's an artist without hands? I can't draw with my mouth.
I think it might crash my iPad again.
You just
basically in Rough Animator. You can look this up as a tutorial.
Because I used to do 2D animation, and I got
export
flipping animation
as an MOV.
So this hand got all messed up, and then I got a mixed hand from sketching. So I have been there. You just have to be patient. Do your stretches. Don't push yourself to the limits. That's like a really important thing.
You just Go
I hope that helps.
to Procreate.
It helps.
Mess up my recording software.
Okay, and I apologize, everyone. I keep on getting notes on the internet.
Navigate
I think my company is streaming something in the house, so I think that may be affecting it, but I apologize.
To your Procreate interface.
Okay, are there any more live questions? Yes.
Yeah, we have a bunch.
Unfortunately, I haven't figured out quite how to get the
Okay, awesome. So the next one is from Adrian Hirsch.
To be just a black
so Adrian,
I think that's just how Rough Animator X.
Go ahead.
That's fine. Set it to multiply, so anything that you draw underneath it.
Hello, Adrian.
Beneath the line.
Hi, how's it going?
Going well.
You will always see the line on top.
My first specific question is one of the things that made me want to get into animation in the first place was reading Creativity Inc. by Ed Catmull. Big personal hero for me. So I guess my question to you is, as someone who has decided, whatever happens, I will get myself to Pixar somehow, some way. What is the culture inside Pixar actually like? Does it live up to Ed Catmull's lofty aspirations?
Well, okay, that's a really good question. And certainly
Flash or TV Paint or whatever.
Years there. I was there for 22 years.
I'm not going to get into
that. Amazing. And I think a lot of that has to do with just where the company was. So I was hired.
Maybe I'll make a
hiring one for the second movie Bugs Life. I just stayed there for as long as I could.
I'm sure that there's tutorials out there.
Really,
so yeah, there's a lot of options, and for me, I just love Procreate because of all the brushes. The interface is fun. It's just super fun to use.
Part like I guess the salad days they would say.
It's amazing to finish artwork in. It's amazing to finish animation.
Getting all this incredible talent.
Can you flip drawings in Procreate? Like how you flip or roll through.
The issues that I ran into towards the end,
not that I know of.
Company that gets to
I just do this. I just put my finger at the bottom.
Comes a tree
this way.
Company, right? You have a lot of middle.
There might be a way, but I haven't figured it out. So I actually don't flip that much. So
I'm sorry, you're going in and out a little bit. It gets what?
I'm sorry. I totally apologize. Yeah, there. It may be different now. I haven't been there in 2 years, but it is an amazing place.
PNG animation.
Amazing people. Like any large company, the management.
I'm sorry, Gabriella. I'm not really sure what's going on there. I would need to maybe take a look at.
No, that's all right. I guess my follow-up is: do you think that that's a good, solid goal for a story artist to have at this point in your career to get to a company like that?
Well, absolutely. If you want to make movies, if you want to make animated features, I can tell you Pixar is one of the best places. My personal experience, I think you probably have just experience.
Flip your canvas.
Maybe at Sony, maybe at DreamWorks, maybe Blue Sky. I think Netflix is really the place to check out because they are new. They're doing so many different things. That's where I would be looking, and that's where I was looking. Although now I've got Scott Story on a feature for a company in Town, and that's just
so basically
sort of in my lap.
What I did for I'll go back
working
to
with them
to her to show you.
Yeah, she feels the same as my early days at Pixar.
With my
brain. I think then my last part of that question, and then I'll let someone else go, is what's something I could do as a story artist to set myself apart? I know that there's such a high demand of people who want to get to Pixar. What's something I could do to set myself apart from the crowd to get myself in there?
Well, I can tell you when I was there and I was participating in the story intern program.
So
to get graphic skills is important, but also technique skills.
Like Cape, it's written as 1 through 9.
You have good ideas, if you know
the Cape.
We study a lot of live-action films, so I
cannot. So that's dividing 16 directly in half, right?
Watch as many movies as you can
for the Cape 1 through 8.
That's what we people that like know what we want people. We want to be able to give script pages to someone and they can run with it.
16 divided by 4 is 4.
You know what?
I make the boil 4 frames
right? It takes a while to get there.
An animation that was let's say 9
but
frames long. I think
I think my being a cinephile finally paid off for me.
Yes, Phil.
All right, thank you so much, Nate. I really appreciate it.
Of course,
if that makes sense. So let me go back to that. This one
assuming the
diagram that I had.
Yes, we have some more.
Yes.
Okay. Next one is going to be from Ali Vanneman.
If you start on the pink frame here, you don't want
so
this
Ali,
to also
unmute
be
yourself.
Frame, right? So you don't want this to also be
Did that work?
Frame.
Yep.
So you want to look at how many frames you have
thank you so
You
much.
want to make your division based.
So my question is,
I don't hear anything.
Oh,
I hear you now.
Are we good?
Can you transform the position of your entire animation?
Thank you.
That's a good question.
My question is, has a little bit of backstory. I've been a story artist in the industry for 2 years, working at a small independent studio. But I kind of feel like I'm stagnating as a story artist, and I don't really feel challenged, and I feel like I've outgrown my current job. At the same time, I'm struggling to progress in my career, so I was wondering if you had any advice for someone who is no longer a student, is in the industry, and has been for a little bit of time. But I kind of feel stuck in my position right now, and I'm looking to improve.
So what you can do is you
That's
tap
a
on
really
the
good question. I felt the same way when I hit a
to
certain point
select
at
multiple
where I sort of felt like I was on
That's what I'm
automatic
doing. I'm just
pilot,
selecting
right?
all the layers that I need.
You want to, it's like you have to sort of
That's all
enrich this
16 of them.
yourself,
We're gonna put it
right?
down in the
By
corner.
just
So,
doing as much reading,
and we
doing things like
transform the
this,
whole
or
animation.
talking to, challenging yourself with other side
Now we're
projects.
going to transform it again. We're going to
The other
rotate
thing-
it and put it here.
All right, I got ready to take
There we go.
go look for work somewhere
yes,
else.
that's
that
totally
will give me
possible.
the I'm looking for that's bigger, that's doing.
And
good
hopefully that
projects,
explained how
it's
to
just
do
you know it's easier said than done.
Is there a cap
Mhm.
in the amount of frames
So,
in an animation?
It's you just have to
and that's
right.
based,
You just have to sort of
I showed
enrich
that a
yourself.
little bit earlier, but I'll show
Decide
it
as
again.
best
Campus
many things you
information.
can do.
Hold on. I might have gone too fast.
Watch
when I
some
went there.
DVDs
I'll
with
slow
director
down.
commentary, which is one of
Click
my
on the
favorite
wrench
things. I
top
learned the
left.
most from that.
Go to
other than
canvas.
podcast.
And at the very
I do
bottom,
a side
click
project
canvas
with a friend,
information. You
or
can see it's highlighted right there.
you know, my wife
Go down
wants
to
to
the,
make her own script, so she's forcing herself to
this
write every
thing
30
that says
minutes, like 3
layers,
minutes every day,
and
like
you can
things
see
like that.
the
You know
maximum
what I mean? Like
number
they
of
just
layers
force
you
you
have
to do something you're
available
not used to
based on
doing.
your canvas
But a lot of it
size.
is just like maybe it's just time for me to move on.
That's
and
my
look
canvas size.
for a different
Dimensions
place to
right
work
here.
at. You know, that's
So
just,
for some
and that's
reason,
a
I made
hard
this a
thing to do,
massive
right? It can
file.
be. It depends on the
like
way your
2.7
options. What's up there? What do I have?
pixels so that only gives me 91.
Right, right.
I don't know at all. But
No, that's perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Possible to do longer 3-minute animations of Procreate if too many layers are required for the number of frames needed.
Okay,
It's a way to
thank
string
you.
multiple files
So our next one is from Ashanti Bell.
Take a look.
So Ashanti, whenever you're ready, you can unmute yourself.
How long your shots are for your
hello, Ashanti.
but I would think the best way to do this.
I actually have 2 questions for you. So I'll just start with the first one, if that's okay.
Shot,
yes.
Right.
So when you're in a room and either there's a script reading or the director is going through what's going to happen in the scene,
I'll take a look and I'll give you a very
while
exact
you're listening
answer.
to them, is it appropriate to pitch some ideas that you have, or is it best to just listen?
We're working HD.
Oh, that's a really good question. Yeah, that takes the skill, right? Is when to speak up, when to not. In my opinion, when you're getting off, right, with pages,
that
and
means
like,
if I want to have
you have that time with the director, that is the time to sort of ask good questions, come up with any ideas. Obviously, you might not work yet, but then that comes to the next phase, like when you do your thumbnails or whatever your rough first pass is.
I'm not sure if that's different.
That is, in my opinion, where you should throw those ideas out, because once you start rolling and they give you notes, that sequence takes a life of its own, and you got to get it to editorial, right? And then you're working on other stuff. But yeah, my favorite experience as a Pixar was when I was a director at a handoff, and then you could just do little sketches right then and there.
Not 100% sure.
Well, I was thinking, I read these pages last night, and I was thinking, what if we did this, this, and this? And this is where you should do it.
One shot.
It is the time.
Well, I just know that there's this play setting where you can make it play forwards and backwards,
like an
which I think
movie or something, or
is
it like that scene? Like that's kind of the way I see it.
But I don't know
that is the time to ask all those questions.
The order of the
get it clear.
Not doing something where you drag
set directions for what supposed to do,
like this in the timeline. You actually change the position in the panel.
A lot of it depends on the director too. Like,
you will do this down here too.
Doesn't want that, right?
If there's a better way to do that, I don't know. But I think you would just sort of have to drag your frames around.
Okay.
Change the position that way.
And my second question, and this is sort of a nerdy question because I love The Nightmare Before Christmas.
I'm very sorry. I completely
what bothered me was when Jack is walking through the forest and he happens upon the trees with the different doors to Christmas and Thanksgiving and all that. It like bothered me all these years. Where's the door for Halloween?
Actually, I already have one right here.
Oh, for Halloween.
Let me make a new one.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's because they're living in Halloween. That's what I always assumed. I mean, I was on that movie only the year that it came out, and I was doing the effects animation, so that's like the ghost you see flying around.
That's the way Procreate sees it. So you can see
things like that. Really so like all of those things were dealt with years before I even started on the movie. This button. So you tap it in the timeline.
Really
be able to answer that interesting observation.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to find the writer or the director and just like hunt them down and ask them that question because it always.
I go to this background
frame. It might be on the director commentary for the DVD. It does exist. You might get the answer that way. It's possible.
That way, I have a group.
I mean, the source material is Tim. So you would have to look at his scattered children's book that he put together with just all of his work.
Let's give this guy background.
Maybe you'll get it there.
Maybe.
Yeah, I was so lucky to get on that movie.
Of course, he should be moving in space, so this is.
It never gets old. Every time I watch it, I like find something new.
That's great.
I'm gonna secretly do it out right now, but thank you for answering my question.
Yes, this looks so good.
All right, I'm sure we have more questions.
Yes. Thank you so much, Ashanti. Okay, next one is from Liv.
We have a static background.
So Liv, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Didn't want
hey, Liv.
Pop up, my bad. Hopefully,
that
answers your question about
was wondering
static background. The
because
same thing also works
sometimes
if you have a layer
when I'm working on a scene, I have so many ideas for a specific shot, and it's sometimes hard for me to make the decision about what shot. I might have like all of these reasons for why like this could work and this could work and this could work. I make all of these analytical reasons for every single choice, and then I can't make up my mind.
Okay.
Kind of like spinning into overthinking. Do you have any advice for like stopping that spinning?
Yes, that's a really good question. Yeah, because you can get caught up in something, right? Well, this is where thumbnailing comes in, and I'm a proponent of that, where you just what thumbnailing does for you is that you might start spinning, but if you keep trying, you keep just moving ahead, right? Just to keep working, getting some rough version of a sequence. I think that will help you, because what you're going to do is you're going to find maybe
he has the
5 ideas.
This is almost like the duck hunt dog, I'm talking about.
That makes sense. You just keep thumbnailing, and then because so much of it, what you're doing with storyboarding is that you're stringing together.
You should not be laughing at you because you just spared that duck's life.
Even a commercial. So, it is a series of images that are strung together, so you have to remember that.
So now he's in front, right? I'm gonna slide him over.
Create like the perfect
overlaps
image,
more,
right?
And there we go. And I'm fairly certain that this you can also do blending and stuff. So
help you because you can draw all the ideas out.
There's a lot of,
and then you're gonna find like, ooh, I think the second idea has a better. It feels like a better flow into the next series of plots. Does that help? I hope it does.
Smash 2, that's very
so it's kind of like focusing on making shots that cut and not getting caught up in the individual shot.
Yeah, exactly. And it happens to everybody. I would do it. I would do stuff, and I would think like,
let me turn off my background
video. It really is about remembering. It's that one image is a part of a whole. It's a part of a whole strung.
And then you go to your wrench.
That are being strung together.
You go to share.
And if you do keep it hanging on the wall, you just got to keep moving, right? Just like set that aside and do something else.
I think
keep going.
Animated GIF might give you no background.
Help.
MP4 might. I know when I did this, I did PNG
files
for my export.
Of course.
Thanks, Liv. Okay, next one here is from Michael Rodriguez.
I do know that I got this stuff back.
Hello, Michael.
Onto my computer.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Commission, so I'm pretty sure I was able to export it without.
Hi, cool, thanks. I just had a question. I am currently a senior in college. I'm taking a graphic design major that has an animation focus. And I really want to get into storyboarding, and I was just wondering, is there any exercises that you could recommend for developing a storyboard portfolio on, as well as like for something I can do on the side of my classes and maybe incorporate into my classes as well?
Yeah, well, I'd say just make sure that you work on your drawing skills, because that's really important. They're going to hand you pages. They want you to be able to board it out from scratch.
Let's go dig through these
Knowing the
layers
film
to
language
look
that
at
they're
what
going to ask about. Are you going to do over the shoulders? Are you going to do wide shots, close-ups? All of that stuff.
So you can see it.
It's really, really important that you know the language.
What I used,
but then one exercise you could do is
incorporate
just
on
like
one
get
layer
script
to
pages
try and
from a
figure out
movie that
how
you
to
like,
loop
or
it.
even a movie that you haven't even seen.
And
That's one
then
thing you could
I
do.
have
Storyboard it
per
out
head,
yourself, and
I'm
then
pretty
look at the
sure as a
product and see what
boiling
they did, and
animation,
see what
once
you
again,
might have done
the
wrong or
boiling
what you might have
thing,
done different.
that I just
That's
sort
one
of
exercise that you
move
can
around.
do. Studying
and
film is really important.
it's the boiling animation, except for this
Look at a
boiling
scene
right
you
and
like,
boiling left.
like
So this is
really
getting a
go
little
through
more
it shot by
complicated.
shot and look at
And
how
then I
they
have
constructed that
this as an
scene.
element.
That will help you inevitably understand. This is what they're doing with
as
the
an
camera.
element,
This
which
is
is her
what they're doing with
backpack
the directing.
and her
This
legs.
is what they're doing with
And
the
then I
editing.
have this shape as an element.
Does that help?
And
Does
I'm
that
pretty sure
help
I
in
did
any
this
way?
as a flat shape.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
And then I
I've been
used
reading a
some,
bunch of books
Max
on filmmaking
Ubichi's
and
really cool brushes
storyboarding
to
as an idea. And I've
brush
just been
into
like,
this
I've been
stuff
studying
over
the
here.
concepts and the
And
terms. I just haven't been able to find ways to like actually study
these
like,
bristle brushes,
storyboarding
I think.
itself, and I think
And
that
then when you
helps a
put
lot.
all
Thank
those
you very much.
together,
Yeah,
you
and
get
you know, a lot of
it gets
DVDs have
this.
storyboards on them,
I
so
don't
you
know
can
why my
look and see what
background
they,
is
because
doing that.
there's all manner of ways of story. There really are. Animation
Okay,
is very
so hopefully
particular,
that
but live
answers your
action
question about
is
the hair,
what
unless you
I
want me to go
find
into
interesting
more
is to see what
detail
they
about
do.
it.
But it's all about, it's all
How
the
do you
same.
make a
It's camera
background
language.
move
It's
along with the character instead of having a set
understanding
background?
editing. It's understanding how these
You need
sequences are
to
put
just,
together.
if you're gonna have a background move with the character, you
Awesome.
have
Thank
to
you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, of
perfect.
course.
yourself. So you
Okay,
have to
great.
track it. If
Thanks,
you have
Michael.
if you have a static,
Okay, next one here is from Carlos
background,
Rue.
Okay. Hey, Carlos.
if you have a background moving at an even spacing, you just need to get your drawing very large, ideally, and figure out how to move
but I
it
can see his name. Hello.
and make it loop. I don't.
Oh,
That's not a very good
Yes.
answer. And somebody else is asking about the background. Okay, so
Hello.
this background for this piece, I had a lot of help in mind. So if you want to know more about
is, I was
looping things,
I also
in
have
Maya,
hand
I
problems.
don't think this is the right talk.
I was thinking of
for it.
quitting drawing
Exactly,
for
but
a couple of
let me
months
show you
to see
what
how it
this
goes
behind the scenes
because
thing once more.
I stopped for a while, but it just
I like
keeps
this
getting
video.
worse.
Basically,
my
my
question is what would your advice be for fast track the lost time?
Here's your paid course. That would be cool. I would love to have a paid course.
And also,
I set up
when you're
these
studying
trees
movie
at
scenes, what are the questions that goes through your head?
Right? So let's say 100 meters.
Yeah, that's really good. I can answer this. I didn't hear the first one, but I can answer the second one. When I'm watching a movie scene, I'm usually watching a movie if I haven't seen it,
this tree,
just to see if I'm entertained. Am I interested, right? Am I drawn in? Do I find it interesting? And then often what I'm doing is just looking at the shot structure. I look at how the scene is constructed. And obviously if you like, if something will stand out to you, I have to rewatch that scene. There's several movies I'll watch where I'll watch the opening scene and almost pause it and go back and rewatch
hopefully that makes sense.
So I'm really looking for, what I'm looking for is staging and composition. How is the scene visually constructed? And is there something interesting in the way that the storytelling is being shown visually, even without dialogue? That's something I really like. Spielberg is one of the best. He uses camera in an amazing way. He moves it around. The compositions are changing often, so he's a great guy to study for that.
Whatever it is,
but that's what I'm looking for.
And then how to loop and Procreate.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, you're welcome.
Animation is only.
Thanks, Carlos. Okay, next one is from Zach Markey.
48 frames.
Okay, Zach. Hello, Zach.
Hello, Zach. All those frames up. Basically looks like this. Duplicate.
I see the name.
But keeping track of all the numbers.
Mute.
Hear me? I hear you now. Yes.
Sorry about that. So I'm 33. I've been a video editor. I'm trying to become a storyboard artist. So I've been doing all this stuff, reading all the books, drawing a ton. My question is about relocating to California. Do you think it's better to move there first, or do you think it's possible to find a job before you get there?
It's a little.
That's a really good question, and the answer is very different now, right? Obviously, with the COVID, because you can pretty much work from anywhere. But you know, my hope is, and I'm sure everyone's is, that COVID's not going to last forever. Obviously, LA is where a lot of work is. You can have, and I have the friends that I have lived there for many years. It's a little nomadic in terms of where you're working, but you're centrally located in one place. So in that sense, sure, I think that might be the way to go.
I'm paraphrasing.
Art and I moved to the Bay Area because I didn't like LA. I wanted to live in San Francisco.
You have to get under the hood.
I just got lucky that there were companies here, and then Pixar started. Right now, I'm actually working for a company in Cape Town, South Africa, but I'm here in Oakland, California, and they're making it work because the people that are working on this feature are everywhere. There's people, guys in Spain. There's one guy in Israel. There's one guy in Wales. There's some of us here in California. Somehow they're making it work. It's not ideal. But
if
now,
there are any more questions,
at least for the next year, right? Maybe two. It could be anywhere. I think.
Assuming that you want to know.
But that's tricky, right? Because again, hopefully it's not going to last forever. I don't know if that answers your question, but hopefully it does.
Yeah, me too.
It's I mean, pretty much. It's just
I still reference it to.
Yeah, it's like what is anything until
Car Mechanic Me? You're literally Car Mechanic.
Yeah, so. Yeah. But I mean, if animation, most of it is in LA, right? Like if you want to be able to work for a bunch of different places, so something happens and you have to leave a place. There are many other options. That was my concern when I moved up here. I was like, am I, but I was like, I'm young. I want to live in San Francisco while I can. I just have to be at the right place at the right time to get.
I guess my question more distilled would be, do you think if you have a California address, you have any kind of better chance when you're applying to jobs?
Oh, I don't think that really makes a difference anymore.
It's on YouTube
about
how I made my own children's book.
I could be totally wrong.
It's still uploaded. You can watch it on YouTube.
Cool, thank you.
And
okay.
I would say everything that I said for the first half of that lecture. About,
next one is Abigail Diller.
Okay. Hello, Abigail.
Hi there. Nice to talk to you guys. So my question is, what was the hardest production you had to do at Pixar?
Oh boy. Okay, that's a really good question. I worked on 15 movies with many different directors, and every one of those experiences was radically different. Some were really good, some were really bad. Some I loved the movie, but I didn't like working with
art school is you don't
director for for some reason. Sometimes it was just
brick and mortar art school.
Have that many people coming together. It's a real stew. I often say, like, is it the right set of ingredients? And I worked on some movies where just it was the right set of ingredients. Sometimes the next movie you get onto, it isn't the right set of ingredients.
Further your education.
Let's see, Cars 2, which I was the head of story on. That was really tricky. It's not a movie production.
You want to be an artist,
like right when I started, that not help. That was a really problematic production, but I love on it because I wanted the head of story, wanted to learn that skill set.
They're not really
that was difficult.
What I would say,
it came together at the very end, and there's so much more we could have done with that movie.
Practice your fundamentals.
Let's see, Coco was another one. I loved working on Coco.
Work on
but I did that movie for like 2.5 years, and maybe a minute of what I did ended up in the movie. Yes, that's the life of story. So that was a little painful, and I loved working with the director. Loved working with him. But I really didn't like storyboarding on the movie because he wanted really tied down.
I saw a really great question which I want to answer.
I don't like working that way. So that was.
Is there a possibility
another
to test
thing? I think Monsters Incorporated.
Turn from a specific.
So a very tricky.
There totally is. I had
production. It was the third movie.
I had a demo that I forgot to bring over.
Getting a co-director that didn't work out. And
I'm sorry that you
he's amazing, but it just takes him a while to find his movies. So that was a bit frustrating. I don't know. Does that answer your question? Hopefully.
Yeah, I think so. That's really interesting to know about. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. Thanks, Abigail. Next one we have is Diana Santos.
Yes. Hello, Diana.
Okay. So I'm going to make
Hi. Can you hear me?
This is going to be too convoluted if I try to explain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm Trindia, and I'm kind of I'm the last year of my high school, and I'm kind of scared about the connections that I'm supposed to make in the animation industry, especially because I'm from another country. And besides COVID, so my question is, what is the best way to make connections in the industry? Like how to reach out to our favorite animators, or I don't know.
That's a really good question. I mean, with the digital age, using just email, right? That you can like email someone you don't know and get a response. I think there's a lot of probably forums, groups like
right here.
Lightbox community is amazing.
So I'm gonna hit this really quick.
Probably find
I'm gonna see
ways to connect that way. I mean, I'm a bit older, so when I went to college, animation was not as big as it was. It was just starting to become bigger. But I can tell you that the connections I made were like what really worked for me, because many of those people that I went to college with, I have now ended up working with. So like, I can't stress enough, if you find the right place, like at CalArts, which is where I went to, the California Institute of the Arts, just outside of LA. Those connections and the teachers you can get at those kind of schools, it was priceless for me in terms of how I got those connections. And that's how I got my first job. When I moved to San Francisco, my classmate was working on The Nightmare Before Christmas. And so I just kind of bugged him and had lunches with him. And then sure enough, he needed an assistant. It was really, and I just don't know my connection. I don't know if that helps, but you can connect with people like globally now, right? It's like pretty amazing.
But if we do this, we want it to rotate from that point. And we select these two rectangles, and now we go back to my sword layer.
Yeah, it helps. Thank you so much.
Okay, yes.
At this
Thanks, Diana.
Right here.
All right, next one here
Can you see
is
right
from
there?
Vilma.
It doesn't even have to be visible. It's just
sorry if I pronounced your name wrong.
Now Procreate will see
this Vilma.
Whole thing from this dot to this sword as one image, and it will rotate from that point.
She hasn't unmuted, so we'll come back to her.
Okay.
So next one is Felix
It's
Bishop.
A lot of steps, but if
Hello?
let's say you're setting up a boiling
Hello, Felix.
what you could
Hi.
do is you could have that little
So earlier you mentioned watching Spielberg. I was wondering if there was any like specific movies, like live action movies you would recommend to watch for studying.
Oh, you mean like live action?
Okay, yeah. So that's a little bit of a hack for that.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Oh, sorry. Are you asking for specifics?
I want to make it oh man, I'm really
just specific live action in general. Like, I mean, sure, Spielberg.
Yeah.
Legitimate sorcery.
That's a tricky question because there's so many movies. I mentioned Spielberg because he's really good, and so I think he's a great guy to study to see what he does.
Do you have any tips on creating
I would recommend Close Encounters of the Third Jaw.
Also,
it's amazing camera
stream art guides outside of Lightbox.
Poltergeist, one that
digital art. You mean animations? I'm trying to keep the talk focused on animation.
And also in helping him. So there are amazing shots of Poltergeist. Empire of the Sun is another one of his that I find to be really, really
like anything, like any illustration that you're making. You just want to make really clean shapes.
A lot of it,
I guess this will be a good point to plug my brushes a little bit, but I made these brushes specifically to animate
Film Institute, and they have put out
and I also have used them since for some freelance work.
Top 100 lists, whether it's comedy,
shapes, they're really
drama,
control, and they
whatever.
A little bit
but they have one main list that came out in 1997, American of all time.
I like
go to that
brushes for making super
to watch films that you've never seen. All of them are worth seeing.
I used
many for the storytelling, but also for great camera work.
Animation was done entirely with.
There are a million lists.
And if you want to check them out, this is my brush plug. Sorry about.
Does that help?
You were cutting out a bit, but yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, AFI list or so much is amazing
at the bottom. So yeah, I'd love it if you check those out. If you like them, that'd be cool.
Thanks, Felix. Okay, we have a few more here.
Lars plugging
next one is Nyla.
If there's more questions, I'll keep taking them. I technically have 45 minutes. I could try and animate something. I could take more.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
What?
Okay, so I have 3 questions. The first one is, since I live abroad and you said previously that our way to break into is only to connect, right?
Never mind. Could you stop? That's my girlfriend.
That's
trolling me right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
So if someone doesn't have the Gumroad link, you can put it.
And so, how would you connect with artists you met online? Especially, like, is there any particular way that you would recommend, like, DM them every day, or just comment their artwork? Like, how much is too much?
Any shading and highlighted?
Oh, that's a good. I mean,
animation. I would say keep it.
I'm still kind of new to the whole social media
layer on top for shadows.
you know, I post stuff on Facebook, or I can look on stuff on Instagram. That's how you would connect, I think, right? Any forums like this, I would assume Instagram is probably one people use the most to post their images at. LinkedIn is another great site where you can find people posting images. I do see a lot of job postings on LinkedIn. So I would look into that in particular.
And like you think they would accept someone who is abroad rather than someone who is like working locally, because like they would have to work with visa and everything, or like am I thinking it wrong?
Well, I mean, again, in these COVID times, thing that you below. So I don't know if that is
paint into it. You can set an add layer on top.
Okay.
At least we're proving now that that doesn't have to be an issue.
Set this
true. And like, is there any drills that you recommend for better draftsmanship that will benefit like camera movement and you know everything?
Just practice drawing. I cannot recommend life drawing enough. If you can get to a life class, like a model, that's the one class that I took in college that I was sort of like, do I really have to do this? But man, it helped immensely because you have to draw fast. I was also drawing bigger. I tend to draw, you know, kind of small on paper, even on Cintiq, but we had big pads of paper, and it really helped loosen you up and learn how to draw faster and also look at three-dimensional objects. That was really helpful. I would recommend
the light direction that you imagine.
Okay, yeah, that sounds really good. Okay, my last question, and this is like more personal about you. Like, what are the discovery that marks your artistic fundamental milestone? Like, you know, discoveries that make you say, so that's how I was doing wrong. That everything was just different from then on.
Well, I think when I started on A Bug's Life,
the normal doesn't blend with the layers below, and multiply will set.
I didn't, because I didn't understand camera, I didn't understand staging and composition. I really didn't understand what it all meant. I remember my first editorial review where I had done a sequence, sent it to editorial, and then we sat in the editorial room with the director and the writer looking at a sequence to sort of tackle notes. That I remember, I was like, oh, okay. Now I understand why everything I'm doing is not working.
So I'm not 100% sure.
The images weren't strung together strong enough, and they weren't working. So that was, I remember that being a huge moment. Really understood what you needed to do to storyboard. It still took me several movies to get there, but I'll never forget that session. It really helped.
With some
so it's about being strong.
Maybe I'm wrong about this, but this is what I'm
well, and knowing what works and what doesn't work.
Do that ahead of time, and then
you learn that through like just talking to people.
Might be a silly question.
Yeah,
so you have two different things you want to animate in an image. There's a way to do that to have each thing at two different speeds.
I'm sorry, you're breaking.
Frames per second.
Sorry,
not frames per second. In Procreate, everything has to be set
with people that knew what they were.
Frames per second.
For me.
Okay.
And everything will be on the same time.
All right. That was great.
What I would recommend if you want to animate all that,
of course,
would be to maybe.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we have about 10 minutes left, so we'll try to get through as many as we can. So next one is Bruno.
And then bring them in together. That might be one way to do it. Or
so Bruno, want to unmute?
Yes. Hi.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I can.
Thank you, Nate. Thank you for the chance. What practical advice would you give to someone with a fresh out of school portfolio to get into a first job opportunity as a storyboard artist? Maybe searching for small studios or any other advice you have?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, like I was saying to someone earlier, showing good examples of storyboards that may be up, but also we want to see rough sketches. We want to see life drawings. We want to see how you're thinking. So thumbnails. When I was looking at portfolio, so I was looking for thumbnails just to see, okay, can they string together a series of images? And the acting is another thing. Are the drawing appealing? Interesting? Is it funny? Are there good gags? It all depends on what you want to do. If you work for a smaller studio, you get to do a little bit more. So that's one thing I recommend if possible. When you work for a larger studio like a Disney or DreamWorks or a Blue Sky or Sony, you might end up only being able to do one thing, which is fine. But if you want to really grow, right, and have opportunities to maybe do other different things, the smaller the studio, I think the greater the opportunity to do different things, work with different people.
You select them all by swiping right.
Thank you very much.
Grab all these orange.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Bruno. Next one is from Maria.
On the top one, and I'm gonna drag
Hello, Maria.
here. Well, it's not doing
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Okay,
I'm good.
Now all these dots are collected under my finger, which is being held down.
I usually get super overwhelmed with all my ideas when I'm trying to think about a sequence.
Let's say,
I wonder if you have any recommendation about that, also the transition between a panel and another.
So yeah, two different,
that's a good question. Again, a lot of it is just thumbnailing for me. The smaller I work, the more drawings that I can do. And one thing I'd heard over my years at Pixar was they called it drawing your way to. So instead of writing, I'm just sketching and drawing. I might watch a movie and look at a similar scene to see how they did it. But by doing thumbnails and drawing smaller, you will find your way. I think you'll break yourself out of that. I just don't know how to start. You just have to start drawing. You just have to start thinking of staging and composition ideas.
I'm not sure if
whatever comes to mind, I do think you'll find your way. That's often how sometimes you just have to set it aside and just
do it that way.
Whether it's I'm going to paint for an hour and then I'm going to go back to this.
You've given up on that? It's impossible.
But again, I can't recommend thumbnailing enough because
that's great.
You can draw lots of little things in a short amount of time, and ideally you'll find something that will click.
Yeah, that's one of the first things I had to figure out when I was doing.
And I have other question before you mute me. Sorry, I'm so sorry. It's funny because I got into ColorArts this year, and this is my freshman year, and it's going to be virtual. What recommendations could you give me to take this opportunity, because you know how expensive the school is?
Yes.
I'm trying to find ways to make it as good, as a good experience as I can, but I cannot focus on online classes. So
yeah, I can only imagine how difficult it is to do it remotely, because it's being there in person is a big part of it. Just trying to make connections with your friends, right, and show your work. That's a hard thing to do, but getting used to showing your work to friends that you might trust or even not, and getting feedback, right? Getting some notes.
But then that starts to
trying different things like that. That would be my best suggestion, to just try to stay connected as you can. And showing work, do different things, do photography, do something.
Yeah, I was actually just trying to do one of those the other day.
I hope that helps. It's tricky.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks, Maria.
The best thing I can do,
next one. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly. Bazak?
Is to stand up and grab your phone.
Hello.
Hello, Nick. So glad to talk with you.
Yes.
Okay. I'm an aspiring story artist, and I'm afraid of making mistakes while gaining experience. What do you suggest for beginners?
I suggest make those mistakes. That's how you learn. You just keep on doing, keep on trying, because it's not until you make those mistakes, right, and then if you think that you learn what doesn't work. And I can tell you that's basically what we would do at Pixar when we would start. We have. They would tend to take a long time to find the movie, anywhere from 2 to 3 years. That first year is nothing but making mistakes. We would basically do a crappy version of it.
And then you can look at it and
realize, okay, we have a movie here, but most of it doesn't work.
You lost me
and then you set that aside, and hopefully by the second screening, the movie is getting a little bit better. And really what we're doing is we're trying to basically make all the bad versions of the movie get out of the way, so we're not wasting time animating scenes and putting a movie in production that isn't ready.
The timing, planning, and all that.
It's not quite the same thing, but you know what I mean? It's like you basically do make a lot of mistakes.
Okay, I'll show you
a lot of bad drawings.
That's not really animation, but I do want to check out my brushes if you want to. So I just developed
sometimes it feels like you're not getting any better, right? But the more drawing you do, the better you will get.
Colors, and I always end up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So MBrush Color Rain.
Okay, so we'll probably have about time for 2 more questions, if that's okay with you, Nate. Okay.
Yeah,
perfect. Okay. Next one is from Gemma.
Okay.
This is just one color, but you can see that there's greens and there's reds and there's purples.
Hello, can you hear me?
And this is a very good place. Maybe you can even use.
Thank you. I'm calling from Italy, so here are 3 a.m. in the morning.
Okay.
Early, but thanks for your kindness, sorry. And I'd like to ask you a question about storyboarding, because last year I attended the class of screenwriting for comics, specifically, not just for films. and they said it was almost the same, but I think if it's real, that storyboarding is the same if you do it for comics, for animation, for films, or for I don't know, any media. Is the same storyboarding or not? And the second question is, I don't know, when you decided to do just the storyboard artist, because I don't know if you have ever felt the feeling to love everything linked to art,
really fast and really dynamic.
storyboarding, illustration, comics. So the passion to think story, make the storyboard, make the scene. So when did you decide, okay, storyboard, just and forever the storyboard became a specialist in that field? Because everyone needs specialists.
Okay, those are both really good questions. I'll answer the first one. So yeah, it's a good question. Storyboarding is utilized the same way as a tool. It's almost like a blueprint, right, for whatever you're doing, whether it's a short film or a commercial or an animated feature or a live action feature. It's how they use those boards. So for animation, we storyboard the end, and most studios do this for many times. So you have to board the entire movie and put sound effects and music, and then you're watching it to make sure it's working before you put the whole thing into production. Live action is a little different. They might storyboard only a few sections of the movie where there's just effects work. So they have to make sure that the people that are doing the special effects know exactly where the camera is and what it's doing. Some people like to board the whole movie. David Fincher does that. He storyboards his entire movie.
This isn't going to be
the Coen brothers, the same guys that did Fargo and Raising Arizona. Surprisingly enough, they storyboard almost all their movies because they like to know what they're doing when they get on set, but they're not going to make an animatic per se. And then comic books are great. I think comic book background is a wonderful way to learn how to storyboard. Very similar language. I think. Hopefully that answers your question. Question number two. I ended up sort of falling into storyboarding. I started doing 2D animation as I did 2D animation on Nightmare Before Christmas, on James and the Giant Peach. I worked at a great company called Colossal Pictures doing a lot of animation for commercials, and I really thought that I was going to head into a 2D animated effects world, but you know, the world was changing, and then I just happened to be in the Bay Area after Toy Story came out, and they needed people. They were looking for people for A Bug's Life, and I really did want to try storyboarding. I don't know if I could do it, but they hired me, and I stayed there, and I learned how to do it on the job, and I wasn't quite sure for the first. But I ended up clicking in, and I really liked it. That's basically what I did. That's how I landed in there. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, of course. You're great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Gemma. So we'll do this as the last question.
Okay.
All right, perfect. So sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Santa.
This is a bad drawing. I'm sorry.
Hello.
Like you
hello,
really want to favor these.
Yes, I can.
Awesome. I can't believe I'm the last one. So my question was how do you practice pacing a story and develop a sense of what good and bad story pacing is?
Any other questions from
that's a really good question. I think you're asking about like the storyboards, whether they're timing out right, like just getting the pacing up. Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things about doing digital is that you can do that. We had a program where you could actually time it out and hit play and it would time it for you, which was super cool. And I only know because that's just
what are some of your favorite things to animate?
But I think
what do you find the
I'm
hardest
pretty sure that Toon Boom or TV
that's a really good question.
Might have that option. I would look into anything that can time. You can actually time it out. That will tell you, because then you can mess with timing yourself. Even just pitching it to someone and stepping through it, you'll get a sense of like whether it's
you like the
I did like
I just asked you if you
I rarely had time to do it. The schedule was so tight, but it was nice when I had time to
kind of Lara's substantially.
A lot of it is just again looking at a scene where there's slow and fast editing, like in the same scene. That's the kind of stuff I love. There's a great scene in Dog Day Afternoon. It's a 1970s heist. No, it's a hostage movie, and it's very languid. They've cut the electricity off. The guys are holding people hostage, and it's very slow. And there's actually 3 very long
Actually,
shots.
you know what I was just mentioning,
and
like
then
Street Fighter, Super
someone fires a gun, and the editing becomes rapid fire. So like that's what I'm talking about. Is like looking at those scenes that you like, and just count how many cuts there are. You'd be surprised how many cuts are in those scenes.
And basically, I was just like,
thank you so much.
Putting the characters
I hope that
in
helps.
Extreme like poses for different frames, doing multiples of their hands coming towards the camera, and
it's over.
That's my favorite stuff.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming, and I apologize if my connection was not too good. I really apologize for that.
When there's
impact, we can do this again sometime in the future.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Nate. Thank you guys so much for coming. We have recorded this, so it is going to be up online once it's ready to go. So just keep an eye out for our YouTube channel. We'll be posting this for everyone to see.
Hey, thank you, Lightbox, and thank you for hosting. I really appreciate the work.
Thank you so much.
I think it takes a certain.
Thank you so much. For that, really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Yes. I wish I could see you all in person.
That I'll ever have it, but just
have a good one, man.
I can put my camera.
What you emphasize, what you play up, and what you leave out of really, really nice, subtle 3D animation, it's just a skill that I admire so much, and I can't do it. So, is it possible to get the timing files? I'll think about it. Maybe I'll release my mage warrior as my mage person as something that you can download on Gumroad. Is that something that you would like? I can definitely do that. I hadn't thought of it, but yeah, sure. Excellent presentation. You did a great job all over the steps. I'm glad, yeah. And if there's anything else you guys want me to cover,